So we also take advantage of all the community events, whatever thing. Like we got this publication, Serious Times, which is the same Ark of Sophis. It actually started out the Serious Times before we established the Ark of Sophis when I came on board, but it was the Serious Times that gave you both the Meeting of the Masters conference in 2000. So here's it says a quarterly journal, but based on the people's input, it can also be bi-monthly. That's for the people out there in radio land or TV land or whatever. You can get in touch with Delbert at 404-344-6862, or you can just type in SeriousTimes.com. The reason why I'm dealing with this one because places like the Hall of Mayotte will also, they're going to be taking out ads. So for other people that really want to have some type of black community business where you want to get out to the greater black community at large, you can come and also get up in this particular Serious Times newsletter with Sister Delbert and Wesley. The key here is that we do that now because we got to come together as a small knit community. And I make emphasis on that because some forms of the black community is going to always be a cult-like, whereas they believe in a certain leader or a certain aspect of a God, so they're going to close themselves off to the greater community. Although they might say that, they don't represent the conventional Christianity or the conventional Islam and all, but still yet it's still that cult-like atmosphere. And basically, if you're not on the agenda of either being down with their particular leader or their particular God, you see what I'm saying, then it's going to be limited in the way they're going to reach out to the black community and assist each other. So you do have that factor that goes down in the conscious community. So therefore, the ones that's left outside of that doesn't particular put the plateau as far as one particular deity or one particular belief system or one particular leader, those people who don't deal with that, it's on the outside, on the periphery, in the aspect that say we try to deal with all of the black conscious information as a form of black history. So therefore, the Hebrew aspect, we accept that because the simple fact it's a part of our history. Doesn't necessarily mean whether it's 10,000 years old or whether it's 3,000 years old. We deal the same thing with the Islam we deal with because we understand that all of it is a part of black history, our particular aspect. We know that nobody outside of us put forth those particular systems. And we also know that those particular systems, if you dig deep enough, have their mystical side to them. So therefore, we don't necessarily shut out anybody. It's the same thing like I'm dealing with this thing here, the return of the ancient evil. And the sister Aviva, she said that she was dealing with something that she needed to deal with, something based on melanin in the dark side or whatever. And I told her to go to Isaiah 44. And I knew that Isaiah 44 tell you, I will give you the treasures of darkness. But I told her to read the whole chapter because I knew there was another brother said that when he read the whole chapter, there was all types of metaphysical things coming out of that Isaiah, out of the book of Isaiah. And in there it said that I created the dark and the light. I created the evil and the good. So the evil and the good. So therefore we're talking about polarities here other than wicked versus good and that whole kind of thing. We're talking about polarities, changing seasons. But it was right there in the book of Isaiah. Right there in the book of Isaiah. So we deal with all of this because we know that these particular scriptures are nothing but rewritten. They were ancient scriptures that was rewritten to fit a particular movement. And I take case in point. Good example. We always knew, even in the Afrocentric movement, that we knew that most of these scriptures came out of the libraries of ancient Africa. And we knew that basically the pages of the Bible was nothing but basically rewritten or plagiarized pages of stuff that came out of ancient Kemet. The thing about it is we never really traced those particular, the book of Isaiah, the book of Job, the book of so-and-so, back to see exactly where does it line up with the text, because on the other hand and stuff, we're not privy to a lot of things of research that these Europeans are privy to. Well, the guy Gary Greenberg that wrote the book, The Moses Mystery, put out this book called The Myths of the Bible, 101 myths of the Bible. And by Gary Greenberg, and in here he's literally showing you this is the book of the book of let's say it's I'll give you a good example. The book of give me a Bible, Deuteronomy. Good. Then he'll show you exactly where you can find the same mythology in the Egyptian or the Camite text. And literally these people just took these particular things and just rewrote them in their political agenda. We're talking about politics here other than the Word of God. So this particular book here is an excellent book, Gary Greenberg book, 101 Myths of the Bible, where they literally go back in and take those particular texts and show you the parallel between that and the Camite text. You see, so if we know that the book of Isaiah, it says, it starts off, you know, well, I'll give you the treasures of darkness. We know that this is a lot of alchemical stuff. It's a lot of Kabbalistic information. And basically, we don't throw anything out because we're all dealing with fragments. You see what I'm saying? We're all dealing with fragments. And that's the difference about really winning the game. Whenever you throw something out and proclaim this as the actual truth, the game stops. And therefore, you become stuck. It's just like the baby with the bathwater. When we threw out the Greek thing, because we understood that the Greeks plagiarized the information from the mystery schools, the Greek philosophy. But Greek mythology was completely black. But if they plagiarized Greek philosophy, you still need to deal with that. You see what I'm saying? But then again, on the other hand, there's this whole story, whether Aristotle or any of these particular people, whether they were black in the first place or whether they were black in the first place. You see what I'm saying? There's these, so this particular information, because we know that they said that they were persecuting people who came to Greece with this philosophy. So obviously, that anybody that came there had to have been of another race. And I remember one time back in '94 when Ginger had first got off the Native American mounds, and I said, well, let me take this opportunity, because she was opened up as a channel. I said, well, let me do something. Instead of just asking all these regular mundane questions and stuff of whether the rent gonna get paid or whatever kind of shit, let me take this opportunity, because I have a hierarchy, to recorrect those particular histories. And then the first thing I asked is, why the hell y'all let white people into the doggone mystery system? And they said, we never let any white people in the mystery system. White folks never went to the mystery system. But then again, on the other hand, I met a Greek woman that worked with Ginger at the Atlanta Journal and Constitution in '99. I was like, man, this woman here gonna die from skin cancer, because this woman has a tan year round. And I just thought she was going to some of those tanning beds, and the woman started talking and all, and she said, I'm from Greece, and in so many words, she said that this tan is my permanent tan. So I said, now wait a minute. Now if this is a woman, obviously she looks European, but she's real. I mean, she was real dark. You know how the ones where you see the Europeans where they go and they tan during the summer to like August, they are real dark before the shit start peeling. But she was like that. I said, well, if she's this way in 1999, can you imagine what the origins of the Greek would have been 2,000 years ago? You see what I'm saying? And then I met some out at a mall one day with nappy hair. And then and Charles Finch said that 90%, well, 70 or 80% of the Greeks had sickle cell. So we know if the 80% of them have sickle cell, that's got to be a black nation. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, we're talking about the lies are so massive until basically you have to really analyze, and you can't make no judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying, like they found, what's the tomb? Ramesses the Fifth, or one of those Ramesses kings, Ramesses the Fifth king, back in 93 or 94. They haven't opened it up to the public, because the man said they over there just a painting and just a, you know, they over there just a painting and all, and they making sure all those black figures are going to be lily white by the time they open it all up. You see what I'm saying? So they just over there just a painting and just doing all this type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? And you know, it's interesting because I was reading some book, The Gods of Dark and Light, and it was talking about Horus, or Heru, and they say Heru is a deity that has blue eyes. Now we know that basically, the eye of Heru itself you see the eye Heru, which is supposed to be Horus's eye, is a black dot. Where we coined the phrase the black dot from the eye of Heru or the eye of Horus. But here's this person in this particular book said that Horus's eyes is blue eyes. And 98% of the book, she did a book, DJ Conway did this book, and all the stuff that was in the book was of another culture, mainly African culture, India culture, culture from India, all of this stuff, and they didn't have one black picture in the entire book. I'm like, God damn, huh? Wait a minute now. Here it is, you call yourself the great people of deductive reasoning and logic and rationale, and then all of a sudden when it comes to race, you're just going to suspend your common sense. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said, and we say, well, people are supposed to produce the entity in whichever race they want to be in. Well, that would be good in our sake. But then again, on the other hand, don't tell me you're going to go to damn blue-black Africa. You see what I'm saying? And produce a European. You see, so they're constantly, I mean, there is so much information that these people have covered over until in so many words, I hear things sometime and I go, I never ever say that no, it cannot necessarily be that way. It's just like the same thing where they got this discrepancy of whether civilization started in the Yucatan over in the Western Hemisphere, whether civilization started in Africa. But then again, if the earth was one landmass, you see what I'm saying? There could very well be this reason why is it that every creation myth that comes about, whether it's Native American, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Aborigine, whether it's African, whether it's Mexico, why is it that all of them say this is where the people first stood up? Now, they can talk about Montauk Point, Long Island, which is supposed to be the Montauk Indians or the Montauk Native Americans, and they got a mythology to say that the first man and woman stood up in Montauk Point, Long Island. You see what I'm saying? There's a mythology that the first man and woman stood up in the Samoan, the Samoan nation. You see. And we got this same story, but if we're talking about, number one landmass, number one, we're talking about time being so remotely ancient until we can't just say, not even Africa. You see what I'm saying? And that's when Elijah Muhammad used to say, no, wait a minute, this whole earth belonged to us. And that's what your girl Akasha said in the movie. They were saying, she said, no, all this stuff belonged to us. We are the lords of all of this. And they made the distinction between the vampires and the gods. Because they were saying, no, we vampires, but now you fucking with the gods with Akasha. You have tasted the most ancient of blood. This is our mom, Queen of the Damned. You see what I'm saying? And so she said, no, all of this belongs to us. Same thing what Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Same thing that Master Farad Muhammad said. The same thing that the entire planet Earth. So therefore, now we're talking about just even revising the history particular point, whereas they are lying every day. You see, so now you can't really rule out anything as far as the way we're going to do this thing, because I think we even took this Africa thing to a certain level. Now, we're not saying that Africa is not no more remotely ancient as any other place. But my point here is I'm trying to wonder, why is it that we can't see different sections of Mexico? You know what I'm saying? You see Mexico City, but I mean, you got parts of Mexico that's very mysterious, and it's still mystical. South America. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's interesting because they got a bunch of brothers going over to South America now. Just started going within the last couple of months. Brothers from America, brothers from Atlanta. They're going over to South. They're going over to like Rio and stuff. In Brazil, they're like, hey, shoot, man. They go over there and they get set out. So they go over there and I'll spend about 2 or 3 days and all, and they be like, oh, you from America? Shit, it's on. So they say the sisters over there be setting things out. But then again, on the other hand, there's 80 million black people in South America, in Brazil alone. 80 million black people. You see what I'm saying? They might not know they black, but there's 80 million black people. And then you want to find out why there's land that's more fertile than America never gets developed. And why is it that these indigenous places like Africa, South America, parts of Mexico. You see what I'm saying? Remote places around the world that's not really remote, that's only remote based on the European don't want to doggone build them up. But they'll go and take a place like Germany after World War II and build it up after that. In 25 years, Germany is back on top. You see what I'm saying? And all. But yet these mysterious places that we don't even see. You see, like here it is again. The Moors are talking about forms of Yucatan, Mexico. Well, there's a book by Brother Philip. Brother Philip is a guy by the name of, it's called Secret of the Andes. It's a channeled book, but it's tight because this guy was writing under an assumed name. He's Brother Philip on one thing. He's also called George Hunt Williams. George Hunt Williamson, I think it is, or Williams, one of those. He wrote the book Other Tongues of the Flesh and Secret Places of the Lion. But he also wrote under the name Brother Philip. You see what I'm saying? And they used to do a lot of this before the 1970s because they would get ostracized and castigated by doing metaphysical stuff like your boy Hilton Hotima. Hilton Hotima is an assumed name. It's an alien, it's not the alias name, but it is the assumed name, and it is a ghost name for some other writer. You see what I'm saying? And they used to do a lot of that type of stuff. There's a book, Secret of the Andes, and they're talking about all of this particular aspect of places right here in the Western Hemisphere. You see what I'm saying? Right here in the Western Hemisphere, which leads us to the black water, the mysterious black water opening up on the coast of Africa. Now, isn't it interesting that the black water, anybody heard about this, we'll go into this, came about on the 22nd of March. This black water mysteriously appeared. They've been talking about it. They kept it a secret. It's been out there for a minute, but they broke it to the news on the 22nd of March, the first time we heard it publicly. And isn't it funny, during the same time that they would have that going on, they got this Israel bullshit going down. And they got this thing with the Catholic Church going down. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the black water in Florida. This mysterious black water off of the Florida Keys. You see, and so we'll go into a greater explanation of that. But what we're saying is now, this thing has gotten to the point where, as in actuality, you can't never say, no, this is the way shit is. Even this thing with the historical thing. Because we've been in this argument on history, man, for the last 14, 15 years, and there's just so much stuff occurring each day. Now, Walter Williams said that it's impossible, if a person has a symbol, for you to know what that symbol is 2,000 years from now, as far as hieroglyphics. He, as well as Dr. York and a couple other people, said that they don't believe that hieroglyphics has been translated. But that might very well be when it comes to this little slab that they said they found, or the Rosetta Stone, and Champollion is supposed to translate hieroglyphics. But fortunately, one of the only black Egyptologists that we have was the sister Rickety Wimby. She wrote in a lot of the Van Sertima's books, Egypt Revisited, I think, and a couple of other ones. She wrote for Van Sertima and a lot of things. When I spoke in Trenton about 4 or 5 years ago, I was speaking in not Trenton, Newark, New Jersey. Come to find out that she lives in a suburb of Newark. So therefore, the sister that had me come speak, we rode to her house. And she gives me a whole other history about how Champollion and them, because she went to the University of Chicago, they didn't translate hieroglyphics or metaneta. That there was a black man, here he goes again, there was a black man that just knew it. You see what I'm saying? And just translated it. He just looked at it, and he did all the translation, and yet they did this Champollion credit for the shit. You see what I'm saying? They was doing this thing for 15 years when he was trying to do this and some other guy, and they were getting nowhere with it. Until they found this black man, and all of a sudden, overnight, hieroglyphics, how can something go when they can't find nothing in 15 years, and then all of a sudden, this thing by the end of the 19th century, this shit is completely translated. And their whole Egyptology springs up behind something that they had trouble for 15 years trying to decipher. That is because they did it from this black man. Here it goes again, how they do things. And they did this thing from this particular black man that was in Chicago that translated this stuff for the white boys. You see, translated this stuff for the white boys. But then again, on the other hand, if we keep still believing in this scientific approach on which the white boy has brought this one model, we never get anywhere. Like one guy said, man, that's crazy. You're going to tell me that this can just happen overnight, whereas somebody can just look at something and know it. I say, I do it all the damn time. I do it all the time. You might have thought for the last fucking 10 years I've been studying. No. What I do is I just know the shit. I just look at it and I know it. It's like your boy on the movie, what's the name of that movie? The movie with Tom Hanks, The Green Mile. And they said, who we going to see this? We're going to see this woman that's sick. They said, how you know? He said, I just know. Well, what it is I would study and I would go and research what I was looking for, but what I was looking for I already knew. So the only thing I was doing is going in and getting a greater grasp on the actual stuff, but I just knew it. You see what I'm saying? It's in the movie, Doom, where it was with the sand people, the Freeman, and this guy, he put his suit on a certain way, and the guy said, how did you know to put your suit on that way? You from another planet. You see what I'm saying? He was like, I just knew. And then he said in his mind, he will know their ways. He will know their ways as he is born to them. Well, it's the same thing also. Nothing is truly lost. Nothing is truly lost. So therefore, this black guy deciphered hieroglyphics of Metanetta. And that's no difference. The reason why when it wasn't even popular putting black people in stuff, all of a sudden, in the early 70s, mid 70s, they got these 3 or 4 black people they put on at NASA. You see what I'm saying? They put on it at NASA. And basically this has been the case based on all of this particular information. But going back, I've learned that you cannot write the gospel as saying this is the way it is, and that's how we get stuck. You see, that's how we get stuck whenever we come up and say that, no, this is the way it is. And that's what the Afrocentric community did by saying there's a certain general way that we look at this thing as being valid. And as a result, after they wrote that law, it didn't grow, ASCAC didn't grow in the aspect of the general history that was put down. And then when you get all this metaphysical stuff, it looks like Morse code to them. Because the simple fact is, you cannot say something is a certain way, but even Van Sertima said that from some rock, some spoke, some blade of grass, the truth always comes back up and comes out. And you can't hold this stuff down. There's a lot of interesting things happening right now based on that, but we need going. But I need to recap some things because of, let's see a particular book. What is this? What is this? What is this back here, man? Oh, I was getting ready to say. Oh, okay. I need to recap some things. This particular book here, if you can find it, the guy is dead. The Yoruba World of Good and Evil by Conrad